My name is Bryce Kanbara. I've always been interested in the Japanese-Canadian experience and Japanese-Canadian identity. I've been educated and I'm really influenced by Western culture. The name of the show is Grace, and that was derived from a poem that I read by Christopher Smart. I read that he wrote these series of poems actually when he was in a mental asylum. I don't really make a practice of talking about my own work. It's really interesting for me to hear what others have to say. I read in the comment book that Natalie Hunter, who was an artist that was exhibiting here last month, said that each of these were like a time capsule, because these were made over the course of decades, really. Like this is the very first one I did with drywall, because it's so easy to cut and put together. The drywall has visibly discolored, and there are elements within some of them, just items that I've used or stuck in to some of the pieces. Like this is a wristband from a visit to the hospital I had a few years ago. But yeah, a lot of the materials are found objects, they're discarded materials, they're offcuts, and what most people would consider garbage, and some people still consider these garbage. This has to do with association with my Japanese background, that I sometimes thought of these as kind of reflecting the aesthetic of wabi-sabi, which I think a lot of people are aware of or are familiar with now in Japanese culture. The affection for worn and weathered and old objects. It's kind of a romantic view of things past. When I talked to another friend of mine, an artist friend, Aaron Murphy, he thought that there's another term in Japanese culture that might be more appropriate, and that term is mono no aware, which means a perception or a love of ordinary things, of objects. There's one here, which is it's a very early piece, but it has a reproduced painting that I did of a scene from the Japanese-Canadian internment, and it's from a prisoner of war camp in Angler, Ontario, where my father was imprisoned for 4 years during the war, and it's a burial scene, so one of the prisoners had died in there. The red circles on their backs, the backs of the uniforms, when they first saw them and put them on, I guess some of them proudly thought that it was the rising sun of Japan, but they were in fact targets. So